everyone, for today's video I am going to be showing you how to make this amazing moss machine. This moss machine is made with a load of materials as well as redstone, and it is generating upwards of 50,000 blocks an hour. That is a two-person machine. I do have a timestamp if you hover over the bar, and I'm going to add a second iteration of the machine where actually I upgrade it to be a one-player machine making upwards of 70 to 75k blocks an hour. Before we jump into this video, please drop a like right now, which is the big thumbs up button, and please don't forget to subscribe if you're not already, and let me know in the comment section if this video helped you and what other redstone machines you want to see me make. Now let's jump in. Okay guys, so before I actually start building and showing you how it looks, this is the final version of iteration 2 in action and pretty much semi-working. There is a lever that I have to switch and then it will start to do the bone meal bit itself. The design is it will automatically bone meal in, and you are over here and you will multi-place in andesite or tuff. It is then pushed down by the pistons. It is then going to get into here. The trapdoors are going to start pushing down. It will then automatically get caught in here, cut the moss, drop into this system, and then you will get a full storage system like this of moss, wheat seeds, as well as all the different azalea trees as well. Now before we jump into it, a couple of housekeeping rules. First of all, it is important to note about the chunks, okay? This first section here, which is basically the start of the build, which uses the pistons to push the blocks, this needs to be in one chunk, okay? What I mean by that is all these pistons need to be in the same chunk. You can't have half of this in one chunk, half of this in another chunk. The second half of my machine actually remains pretty much all in one chunk. This doesn't matter too much, but I do think it keeps it quite nice, tidy and clean. The final thing is that materials. On screen I'm going to have a list of materials that I've used. This list of materials is for iteration 1 of the machine, which is a 2-player iteration, and that is where you have one person where Lucas stood going to place andesite or tuff, and then the second bit is in here and you'll have someone who is bounced back and forth with the slime, and they can just hold down bone mealing this. The second iteration, which is towards the end of this video, is where we then add dispensers with this redstone setup where you can flick a lever, it automatically is going to start bone mealing. And then as you can see here, Luke is fast placing. It's a one-person machine then where he can push it in and it will then automatically start to generate as so. Alrighty, so I have a couple of temporary blocks just so that I know my placement. You guys don't need to worry about this. But because I'm building from air, I needed some blocks. But these are the items that I am going to start with. And we are actually going to start with a mud brick. And we want to place the mud brick upside down like this to begin with. And then essentially I'm going to come backwards like so. I'm also going to add a mud brick to the side like that. Now I can get rid of these 2 temporary blocks because we don't need those at all. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my glass block and I'm going to pull my glass block all the way across. Then we're going to take our stairs and we're simply just going to place them all the way across like this. You want to be able to have one glass block either side. I'm also just going to get rid of my final temporary block, a mud brick. We're going to go in and then we're also going to place an upside down stairs, and we're also going to place another upside down stairs like so. Going back to the mud brick, we are just not going to place that there. We are going to place mud bricks all the way underneath these stairs. Apologies, I kept making a couple of mistakes there. But mud brick all the way underneath. Back with the mud brick stairs, we're going to place these upside down. We also want to go one out so that we're connecting. And we're going to just continue doing that all the way across. And again, we're going to have one coming out. Going back with our mud bricks. On the inside, we're going to leave this one, but we're going to come all the way back in with our mud bricks. And then we just want to mirror essentially this side, but over here. Take a mud brick stairs, followed by a mud brick block, followed by an upside down mud brick stairs. We're also just going to place one final mud brick on the inside of here. On our mud brick here, we're going to place an upside down stairs, and we're going to place 2 mud bricks coming out. Also just going to get rid of that temporary block. Now just going to use a quick temporary block just to make this next step a little easier. So I'm going to place that temporary block there, and I'm just going to place a slab like so. Using our mud bricks, we're going to go like this, but we're actually going to get rid of it here. So we kind of just want to go up one. We're going to use mud stairs like so. We're going to place an iron trapdoor down there, and we're going to use a lever underneath and then press, and it should open up like that. And we want to leave it so that it's always open. And then I'm going to go ahead and place 1 lantern here, 1 lantern here, and then just 1 last mud brick there. We're then going to move on to andesite, and with the andesite we're going to go ahead and make this 9 wide. So we're going to place 1 block here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and we're also going to go ahead and come all the way across. Then simply just fill this whole thing in with andesite. We should now end up with a platform. We're going to go ahead and fill this whole bit in with glass. This is 2 across, sorry. So we're going to make this 2 across, but then we're going to come 3 out like this. And then we're also going to come down, breaking that block. We now have this setup. I'm going to go ahead and place my light like so, and we're just going to mirror that on this side. So again, I'm kind of just going to come out like so. I'm going to make this 3 wide, 2 underneath, further 1, followed by a lantern. On top of each glass block, we are going to place a leaf. This leaf can be any leaf, it does not matter. I just so happen to have spruce leaves to hand, but you can use oak leaves. This works with any type of leaf. So I am now just going to use a moss block, and we're going to place it 3 along. We're going to fill the inside of this, and then what we're going to do after that is we're going to go down 1 block. So kind of just pull it down like this, but then we're going to get rid of that one. I'm going to come all the way across. Then I'm going to take my spruce leaves, and I'm going to put them all the way across. I'm going to put a temporary set of leaf here, but we're then going to get rid of this one. So we kind of want it to come in like that, and then I'm simply just going to fill this all the way across, and we are then going to fill this underneath with glass. Fill the glass in like that, taking our leaf for the corner. I'm going to take some spruce fence gates, and we're just going to place them along the top of each leaf, and then on the side of this we're also just going to place our leaf either side of this. So we're going to take any trapdoor, depends on what type of wood you're after. It really will not matter. And we want to just fill all of this in. It needs to be level with the leaf block, so you kind of want it smooth to walk over. You don't want it a block high. I'm going to use a mix of honey and slime blocks. So we want to place almost in rows of 2. So we got 2 rows there. We're then going to alternate the 2 rows of slime block, back to 2 rows of honey, back to 2 rows of slime, and then finally finishing this off with another row of honey. We now need a temporary block and some sticky pistons. With that temporary block, I'm just going to break one underneath, and I'm going to place kind of looking up, and then you want your sticky piston to be facing down. I'm just going to use that temporary block to come over like this. The exact same thing again. temporary block again. This time round, these are going to kind of go together. So you want 2 sticky pistons there. I'm just going to get rid of those temporary blocks. And then our last one, facing downwards, get rid of those temporary blocks. And we should be left with something like this. Now coming back to our mud bricks, we are going to place all the way across like this. And then in here, almost want to make like a staircase system that comes 6 blocks down. So that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you can leave these blocks in. I personally am just going to remove these because I just want to make it as efficient as possible for size, but honestly that bit doesn't really matter. Back to our honey block. We kind of need a shift place, a little bit difficult to do when we are mid-air. 2 blocks, followed by your leaf, followed by another 2 blocks. After that, we're going to take our slime blocks and we are just going to fill that all the way across. And then on our second slime in, we're going to place 1 slime block. We're going to take a honey block and place it here. Again, just with some temporary blocks, we're going to just place our cobble like so. Then I'm going to come this way and I'm going to face inwards so that the sticky piston is facing in on that honey block. I'm going to take a mud block and place it here. I'm also going to come down 1 like so. Again, optional to leave that mud block in, but I'm just going to remove it. I'm then just going to use another temporary block really quickly. Place a second sticky piston facing inwards to the slime block. And I'm also just going to take a lantern and go ahead and place that underneath this block. Like so. Just go ahead, take my mud block, and I kind of want to come down 1. Again, optional to keep that block in, you do not have to. And then place my repeater down. You want it facing this way, and you want it kind of pointing that way as well. That's really important. I'm going to just use some more temporary blocks really quickly. I'm kind of going to come outwards like this because I want my sticky piston to be facing downwards. And then I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of those temporary blocks. Back with our mud bricks. Right. I'm going to place 1 down and then get rid of that. That one has to be removed because we're going to place some redstone on top of that in a second. The exact same thing again. So just kind of stepping that mud block down, breaking that block off, and we should end up with something like this. Stepping down 1 last time, and then we want to be able to come 4 blocks out. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm just going to break that block off. That one doesn't matter too much if you do want to keep that block in. Using our mud bricks, we're going to come 2 blocks out on this side, and then I'm just going to come back around and I'm going to place the mud bricks, but you kind of don't want to, you want to leave 1 spare in line where your leaves are. I'm then taking my repeater, and on this block here, we want it that way. And it again has to be facing in that direction for this to work. We're now taking a furnace and we kind of just want to place that furnace there. I'm also just going to use a temporary block for a second, followed by that mud block. That mud block will stay. The reason why I put that temporary block though is because I want to have this furnace facing inwards as well. So it kind of ends up looking something like that. Again, on this side, we're doing the exact same thing again. So I'm just going to put temporary block, keep that mud block, get rid of this one. With this furnace, we're going to place it facing this way, and then we're also going to have a second furnace placing in that direction as well. And then we're going to place our mud block. We're then going to go ahead and kind of almost make something like this. But that's a temporary block right there, and we're going to get rid of this mud block, and then we're going to have our sticky piston facing inwards this time around, and I'm just going to get rid of that temporary block. I'm also going to do the exact same on this side here. So I'm just going to go ahead like this, temporary block here, come on in, break that off, put our last sticky piston down, and then just get rid of that temporary block. Once we're in here, we're going to go ahead and place a slime block on either side like so, and then we're going to go ahead put our block down like this. Come on over here. The repeater so it is facing that way. So our repeater like this. And then I'm going to go ahead and just place a fence. And then add a heavy pressure plate on top of each one. And then underneath the fence, just simply add your ice all the way along.
Shot. Use that shot.
We're just going to take our redstone and we are simply just going to place it on all the mud bricks like this. And then down here. And then also I'm just going to start on this side. And I'm going to bring... Not there. Oh my god, I've just lost my slime block. So our redstone on each of these mud blocks. And also I'm just going to play it under. And we want it. Come on up and round like this. And then also here, we're just going to bring it up like this. Next bit is going to be tricky. So on this middle moss block, you want to place a hopper facing downwards, okay? Then essentially on top of that, you're going to repeat that process. So hoppers facing down on each one. Excuse the two at the top, that's a mistake. I'm going to mine them up in a second. This, as I said, is tricky to do. Face the hoppers into those hoppers, so almost like they're pointing inwards. And then we're going to come back on this side and we're going to do the exact same thing where we're going to have those hoppers facing inwards on each and every single one of these. You should end up with a system like this where they're all facing into that center one, and essentially those two center ones are stacked on top of each other facing downwards. This next step we are using Luke because we've messed up. We need a small version of Luke to get inside here to do this next bit. Honestly guys, I don't recommend doing this middle one if you don't have the mini sized person. But essentially what Luke is now doing is if I fly around, he's just adding rails in there. These are just standard rails. And then he's going to go back through and place a minecart. And the minecarts do have hoppers inside them, okay? And they need to go on each and every single one. So we're just going to watch small version of Luke just help us out here for a second. We're then going to repeat that process this side. So we're going to put a rail down on each one of these hoppers. And then on top of that, we're then going to add those mine carts. And each one of those mine carts has its own hopper inside. All the way across. Okay, and our final step is just our storage system. So what we're going to do is Luke's actually going to help me because I surprisingly really struggle with motion sickness, and this has done a lot of flying, and I also really struggle to shift placement air. So we have small version of Luke who's just going to help us really quickly. We're going to place stub chests down. They're going to be in line with this hopper, and then essentially what we're just going to do is we're going to add hoppers facing into each and every single one of these chests as we go along, exactly like that one over there. And then essentially you can build this as big as you want. I'm probably going to make this about 4 deep. I will say this requires a lot of island upgrades for both redstone, sticky pistons, as well as hoppers. It does cost skydust. You'll notice I'm back down to 2k skydust. I was at like 20k plus, feeling rich, but money has now been spent and I'm not so rich anymore. But yeah, just fill this in with some hoppers and some chests. You could probably leave it this side, but obviously it's going to produce a lot. So you're probably going to want to extend this, probably at least triple the size of this storage system that I have. Okay, the very last step, guys, we are almost there. We're coming back to where we first started, and actually we just need to quickly mine up these steps just as a temporary measure. We are going to put them back down, so don't lose those blocks. But we're just going to place those down for a second. So just to clarify what we've done, the sandstone is just a temporary block, but we're placing the rails like this. So the idea is you want the rails on this slant. We're going to mine these bits up in a minute, and we're also going to mine those ones up in a second, like what Luke's doing back there. But by having it laid out like this, they won't connect to each other. So there's no other way of getting around this as far as we know. This is our only way. So now that we've mined those up, I'm just going to go ahead, come back, and I'm going to add those stairs back across the top like this. And we're going to place our fence posts all the way across.
Stand on the back.
We're then going to put our iron pressure plates on each and every single one. And our final step, which we're hoping is going to work, again, I probably wouldn't put the pressure plate on, but you're going to want to use a minecart with a hopper in and place them on top like this. And you'll notice they should start to tick along like this. Hey guys, a couple of things to note that I did skip, but you are going to need to put a standard piston across like this. So it'll be in line with that block all the way across, and it should be doing this. Once you've done that, over here, you do need to put a redstone block underneath this one here. And then under here, you do need to go ahead and just add chains all the way along like this. Once you've got that, then this is a two-person machine. So you're going to need one person who has bone meal, who will be standing under here. And then the second person will be stood over in this corner. So I'm going to show you how to use the machine. It is a two-person machine, so Luke is under there doing his bit. I'm going to come down here. You are going to do MP10, which means that we've enabled it. You're going to face this part. Simply hold down. You'll notice my blocks are going down, which means that Luke's doing his part, and that is working. If I just stop, I switch multiplace off. I'm just going to swap positions with Luke really quickly, and I'm going to come and stand under here. And I'm simply going to just face upwards, hold down bone meal, and you'll notice my bone meal is going down, which means that Luke is also fast placing andesite or turf. And then if I just stop and come on over here, I can then show you in the chest system, we are starting to get all of the drops. So I have amended my machine so it now works one player. Unfortunately, the file actually corrupted and I'm really frustrated, but I'm going to talk you through all the changes that we made. The first big one is here. You'll see that I have dispensers all the way across. These were originally leaves. So you're going to want to replace those leaves with dispensers and the face of the dispenser facing into the moss block. You can then fill this with bone meal. For context, I've been using this for so much and the bone meal hasn't run out yet. I then added a couple of hoppers in here because the idea was that I was going to double hopper in to here and kind of fill this up with chests with bone meal, but there's honestly no need, so that's just not really applicable unless you want to do that. And then all of this pretty much stayed the same with the exception of we've replaced the mud blocks with some turf because that was my temporary block. You'll notice the redstone that we have running back here is now connected here. These are really important that you have them set up in this same facing way. Once you place it down, you do need to hit it once for it to be in that position. And then we connect it with a piece of redstone there. And then it comes up again to another one. Please take note how this one is connected. This is a full redstone block, a temporary block up here. And then this is another piston, a sticky piston here with a temporary block and then a lever switch. And then the idea is, in a minute, I will show you, but you switch this on when we're ready to use the machine. These ones down here basically become redundant, so you don't need to worry about those ones anymore. And then up here, you'll notice we used to have the mud blocks running all the way down and down here and around the back. I've slightly changed that. So the existing redstone that we had now runs off to the side with some temporary blocks. Again, please take note to how this one is set up. We have a sticky piston with a redstone block, some more temporary blocks with a fence post, and then a plate. And then we have a minecart. This doesn't have a hopper in it. It's just a default minecart with that rail. Again, to get that rail on an angle, you place one rail there, and then you break that top rail and it stays as an angle. You need to have the fence post in here first and then put the minecart on. If you don't have the fence post, the minecart will just fall off. But that is all for that bit. We then got rid of the redstone that originally ran down the side here. And what we've done is this bit has pretty much stayed the exact same, except I've now added a second sticky piston to the side here. And that is connected to a redstone block. And then these temporary blocks again is for that rail. Again, it has to be on an angle, so put one rail there, break that rail, and then it can come down. That is connected to a fence post and then a plate on top. You need the fence post in first before you put the minecart. This minecart does have a hopper, but honestly, it doesn't matter. It can be a default minecart without a hopper inside it. They're all the changes that I made. Again, this bit is pretty much made redundant now. It's not really needed. Oh, and it is important though that you do add redstone under all of these dispensers for this to work. So those dispensers that are facing inwards, do put a redstone block under each and every single one of those for it to work. Then essentially you flick the lever, and what will happen is you should start to get all of this moving like this at the same time. If nothing is moving in the same time, go to spawn, make sure no one's on your island. It kind of resets your island for like 30 seconds, come back and then try again and it should work. If at any point you start using this and then you come back to it a few hours later, you hit the lever and for whatever reason, it's not like bone mealing and you're like, what's going on? Because I remember I was putting turf and andesite and it just stopped working completely. Essentially just remove the pressure plate in the minecart from here and also from here, and then put those back in and it will start to work again. I think it's like a server lag glitch, best way to explain it, but otherwise it does work. So then essentially how this then works is you're just going to flick that lever. You'll see it's starting to automatically bone meal, so nobody needs to be back here. And then you just come back over to this side, multi-place 10, put your crosshair in the center of the trapdoor, hold down with andesite or tuff, and just keep filling it with tuff and andesite, and then this will just work its magic and do its thing. It's actually much faster than the first version of the machine because the bone meal is hitting it much faster. The first iteration of the machine, I reckon, probably generates about 50k moss an hour. This one is probably more like 75k as an example, so it is really cool. I did not change any of the setup on this half. This has all stayed the exact same, so nothing has changed there. That is my moss machine version 2, upgraded for a solo player because I am a solo player, so I want everything to be solo friendly. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please let me know in the comment section if this helped. Please tag me in general chat on Discord, in game, show me your builds. I would love to come and see them. I might be making some shorts kind of plugging this throughout. Definitely show me your builds. Please don't forget to drop a like if you haven't already, and please don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in another video very soon, but goodbye for now.